Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. As always, I'm your host, Adam Smith, with Just the Tips Coaching, and with me pretty much almost as frequently is our marketing director, Jen Waybor. Good morning, Jen.
Good morning.
All right, I didn't say good morning, everyone.
I was proud. I was so proud.
But it is morning where you are.
It is.
Okay. And it is morning still where our guest is. In fact, an hour earlier this time of year, David Ryder from Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome, David.
Morning, everybody.
And this is going to be a really cool episode for all of us, I think. We know David very, very well. He is a close friend, colleague, one of our past coaching clients, one of our coaches, one of our speakers at the Mile High Mastermind, and just an all-around goofy guy. I don't know how many people we've had on this show where I could say I've seen them topless indoors. Yeah, just David.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's not true. But as guests on our show go.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true. There was one other.
There was one other. Yeah. Okay, so on with the
Things
show,
that happen during Mastermind.
Well, yeah, and we're going to end up scaring our audience and future coaching clients and so on and so forth. So we're going to tone that down for sure. But nonetheless, let's talk a bit about some of these things. David, why don't you take us back and tell us, because you've been very vocal about it as of late on social media, why don't you take us back a few years and tell us about your experience with the Mastermind event, which is coming up here next month. The fifth one is coming up next month. And you've been rather adamant about it changing your life.
Yeah, and you didn't even have to pay me to tell you this.
No,
story.
not yet. I'm sure there's a bill coming.
So I'm going to go back a little bit. I'm going to go back to 2019, which was, the last 3 years, lots of fun. So into 2018, beginning of 2019, I made the decision to switch from retail to broker. Made that transition in March of 2019. Everything's going good. Next thing I know, get a phone call, my son's moving in. Okay, so that changes the dynamics a little bit. Still getting my feet settled. And in fact, getting ready to go to Vegas to meet up with you guys for some event. I was going to leave. That was Thursday that I was going to leave. I get a phone call Wednesday afternoon. David, your mom's in the hospital. I need you right away. Now, a little bit of backstory. I'm my parents' medical advocate. And my mom has a bad heart and bad back and all this. Long story short, she went into the hospital with congestive heart failure and was in the hospital for 30 plus days. Intensive care unit. This was pre-COVID. I had just switched companies. I had a processor, kind of okay, not fantastic, okay. And to say that for the next 90 days, my life just fell to hell on the handbasket would be an understatement. I lost 3 real estate agents. I lost a couple of deals. I mean, I'm trying to scramble, run my business, tell my processor what to do, and take care of my mom at the same time. Good news, she recovered. She recovered. And back when you see the funny birthday hat on my videos, that birthday hat was bought for her because we didn't think she'd survive her birthday. So we were very happy about that. So get all that done, trying to build my business back up, have no motivation whatsoever, and got invited to the Mile High Mastermind in Denver, Colorado. So went there, and and masterminds are kind of funny. You go there with a lot of great intentions, but the reality is for 9/10 of us, we leave with so much stuff on our plate that we don't do anything.
It's hard to execute. It's hard to implement.
Extremely hard to execute. And one of the things that you had mentioned, Adam, that had changed you was having an assistant. And so at that point in time, I made a commitment. You had talked about a couple of ideas to find an assistant, and I made a commitment at that point in time that before the end of the year, I was going to hire an assistant. Now, just to give the background of this, I'm not some 200 a month producer. I'm a 3 to 6, 7, 10 is a great month for me. So some people say an assistant, but my low threshold, I need an assistant. So I came back. I had no idea how I was going to pay them. I had no idea of where I was going to get them. I had no idea of what they were going to do. but I was going to take action. And one of the things that you had mentioned, Adam, is a great way to get an assistant is to talk to someone that has a great assistant already. So I immediately called up Jen, and she told me she wasn't available. Did I forget to tell you that part? Yeah. So
That's good.
I wasn't going to move to Arizona. Sorry.
Yeah, I was hoping. But I have a good friend named Bryce, who's a financial planner, and he has ranted and raved about his assistant. So long story long, I went ahead and called her up, knew I couldn't hire her, but I said, there has to be someone like you, stay-at-home mom, something, because I knew I wasn't going to pay very much. Well, just being honest, I didn't want the pressure. This is coming from, and I'm sure some of your audience can understand this. I didn't want the pressure of someone saying, hey, if you don't close the deal, I don't eat this month. I already had that pressure on me. I didn't want that pressure for another soul. That's not what I wanted. So I ended up hiring Mary Smith, my assistant. She was a stay-at-home mom. I met her in October, towards the end of October, decided I was going to hire her. We were going to get started after Thanksgiving, and something happened. COVID hit us. I started paying attention to it in November. Mary stayed with me. I paid her. We worked out all the pay and stuff. And I will tell you, fast forward, we worked through COVID. I've met my assistant in person maybe 4 or 5 times over the year. So I just want to make sure that you understand you don't have to have an assistant right by your side. You can have an assistant. She lives in my city, and we talk on the phone and through Teams and all that. But I've only met her 4 or 5 times. Fast forward to 30 days ago, I get a phone call. David, we're going to the hospital. Your mom's having problems again. Go to the hospital. When they give you blood, they consider it a catastrophic event. They gave her 3 units of blood in less than 2 weeks. She was having a catastrophic event.
Wow.
It was pretty serious. Not as bad as last time, thank God, but still. Here is the amazing thing, and here's where the life change comes in. All my customers were still being contacted on a regular basis. All my deals were still being processed on a regular basis. All my new clients were still being taken care of on a regular basis. In fact, we even got more business. None of this would have been possible if I had not gone out and hired an assistant. Now, again, I want to clarify. She works part-time. For me, part-time works. It works for her. It works for me. But she's flexible enough in her schedule that if she needs to put in more hours, she does. If we don't have as much to do, she doesn't. But it went from, I figured that the first event my mom went through probably cost me $50,000 in lost revenue from lost realtors, deals, etc. This time, what was really cool is my father, who's 88, my mother, who's 81, and both they've owned real estate companies all their life. Both of them are, David, how are you doing your business? Because you're spending all this time with me. And granted, I would get up early. I'd spend an hour or 2 on the computer. And then but when I'm with them, when they're awake, that's where my main focus was. It was so wonderful to say I have a team that's taking care of it. And to go from the solo entrepreneur that has to do everything to now I have effectively my team. I have a assistant. I call her my corral queen, and I'll explain that term in a second. And then I have my processor, who I also helped get hired. And between those two, they've now become very good friends, and they really have changed my life. And none of this would have happened if I had not gone to Mile High Mastermind. And really, just so you know, Adam, the thing was, go talk to someone who has an assistant like the one that you want. That was huge. I've done the Facebook, the Craigslist advertising, the WeWork. I've done all that. And just nightmare. But to be able to call up someone and say, birds of a feather flock together, who do you know that I need to know? Changed my life. And if I had not heard that one tip, I don't know that I'd be on your show today. I don't know that I'd be in mortgages today. It was just tough, but this last incident worked out very well, and Mom's doing much better.
Good. All right, so this is obviously one segment. I would even call it one fragment of what we do and what we put our mastermind attendees through. Certainly one fragment of what we put our coaching clients through, although team structure is a big deal. The formula that we probably described at that event that you picked up on and that we still talk about today is that for any of you, if you hired an assistant for $20 an hour at 20 hours a week, it's $1,600 a month, but it frees up 80 hours of your time. Could you find one more deal with 80 hours? Does the one deal pay you more than $1,600? The answers are obviously rhetorical, but yes and yes. And yeah, you need an assistant. That's all that there is to it. And then that assistant can develop into full-time. And then the two of you can find another assistant and so on and so forth. And my team right now, not everybody participates in the process, but I have, at least by industry definition, I wouldn't consider them assistants per se, but by industry definition, they would be. And there are 1, 2, 3, at least 4 of them, not including myself, that participate in, say, the recent hiring of our 6th LOA, loan officer assistant, who I think is starting tomorrow, actually. Yeah, Jen, is that right?
I think so. I don't know for
too.
sure.
We're a little casual about all of that, as we are with a lot of the things that go on in our office, like dress code and obviously our
dogs,
pet policy. Yeah, bring your dog to the office. We love having them there, no question. Dress code, work schedule, all this kind of stuff. All right, so David, that was the 2019 mastermind that you're describing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you've attended at least one more since then.
2020.
You're going to speak at the event this year, next month.
2021.
And somewhere between all of that, you thought, well, shit, I picked up a couple of good things and implemented one uber important thing after attending a mastermind event. Maybe I ought to look at what their coaching program provides.
Mm-hmm.
And you did. And
it was a fun little dance.
It was a fun little dance. about 16 months worth of it. But yeah, I don't know if I would call it little, but at some point you decided you wanted to get more from what Jen and I are offering, and and Rob, and now you, and so on and so forth. And a big thank you to all of our speakers and presenters and coaches that participate in the mastermind event, and certainly to all of you who will be participating next month. Rob again, Corinne again, Michelle. Who am I missing? Jen.
We have Alyssa coming also from Arizona to talk about TikTok. And we have Marissa coming she's a Denver local who's going to talk about podcasting. So
that's right.
A couple new faces this year.
Yeah, we're going to have some really cool content this year. But David, kind of give us your journey over the last, because you're just at the tail end of the program here. Literally, like we almost finished last week or this week or something to that effect.
I think we got 1 or 2, and then we're going to do some review, and then basically we're done.
Yeah. So tell us, what's your perspective been on there? What other highlights have you picked up other than having an assistant, how to make that person do the work? We're still expecting you to work with your chess clock. He hasn't done it yet, Jen. That's something that some of you may learn about at the event here next month. Otherwise, we'll keep that a bit of a secret. What's the rule, Jen? Give them 80%? No, give them 20%?
20%.
Give them 20%. Make them come to you for the other 80. Got it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I probably already breached 20. But neither here nor there. We're pretty forthcoming with our content. We want to see everybody succeed. So, David, what other highlights have you picked up on? What are the top 3, not including how important it is to have a team? What are the top 3 things you've picked up on over the last year and a half here?
Okay, so I have been a student of coaching of some sort all my life.
Certainly. All your career.
Yeah, just like everybody else, gone to the things. But here's the first aha, to quote a Keller Williams saying, the first aha I got. Adam, you had everything laid out. I mean, it wasn't, you go to this seminar and you pick this up, you go to that seminar, you pick that up, you go to this seminar, pick that up, and then you put it in the closet and never touched it. But what I liked about your coaching in particular is there was 52 things. One, there's 52 weeks of content, which really takes closer to 60 to 65 weeks, but that's beside the point. There's 52 weeks of content, so you knew what was coming from A all the way to Z. But more importantly, it was put together in a fashion that built upon each other and made it manageable. you come back from all these things and it's just so overwhelming. And with this, it was, okay, this week we're going to do this. And then it's up to me, the student, to get the stuff done. That accountability thing that so many coaches try to throw in creates all sorts of hassles, for lack of better words.
Strain.
Yeah, stress. Yeah. Because sometimes you're
oh my God, I didn't get this done
the
this
goals.
Week. Sure.
Right. So you just don't do the phone call, or you don't do this or don't do that. And it's a self-sabotage thing, but this was very easily laid out. They were all recorded. I went and had them all transcribed. So I now have a notebook that I can make sure that I'm going through my action items. But here are some things that I learned that have been huge. One, consistency. Consistency. When Jen told me I'd be posting to Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram every day, she said every single day. And I said, no, that's not going to happen. But Monday through Friday, Monday is like, no way. Now, if I don't get, and now my schedule of posting, it takes about 5 minutes. My assistant helps me with some of it I do. But it's helped build my presence because all my business is built by referral. I've never, ever, ever spent a penny of advertising.
And we wouldn't want you to.
Yeah. No, would not know how to do it, never done it. So the consistency, the content ideas, where are you going to get content from? And then how to reuse that content in multiple ways. So you're just not using it once and throwing it away, but you're using it multiple ways. For us, it was just great timing because all the coaching is done over Zoom. So became extremely familiar with the Zoom and OBS and things of that nature, which then why all my friends were crying the blues about their business because they couldn't get out. My business was booming.
Well, hang on. Let's back up a little bit because I certainly don't want to give the wrong impression, because under normal circumstances, and we tried to make them as normal as possible for you, and you're obviously very, very accommodating as well. One of the very first things we do is we want to come see where you work.
Yes.
Jen
there
and
are
I,
some in-office visits.
Jen and I have stood in that room that you're sitting in right now. Okay. We do talk about workspace, workflow, being as productive as you can in the time allotted, or being more productive in the time allotted, etc. So that's a big one. We do some of the video coaching modules live, particularly TikTok. Obviously, if we're hyper local, somebody in our immediate area, we use our studio. Jen actually recently flew out to another one of our coaching client studios, and they have a studio built in their office. And fortunately for us, you happen to be here. So you and Jen were able to do those coaching sessions in person.
Absolutely. No, there are definitely in-person coaching sessions. So for those of you that are wondering, Adam did come to my office. For those of you who are wondering, my office is in my house. It's 2 steps away. I will never forget, Adam said, wow, this room's a lot smaller than it looks like.
On camera?
Yeah. It looks so much bigger on camera.
Yeah. It's a bedroom. It's just a bedroom. But
it's an incredible use of space.
Thank you. I do pride myself on my environment.
Yeah, we pretty much have the conversation with every coaching client where we want to make some adjustments to their workspace. And as far as I can recall, you're the only one we didn't make recommendations. Where your understanding of proper workflow in your office environment, that the printer is out of the way behind you, that your 3 monitors are right in front of you, that the dog is on her bed.
I was going to say, Roxy. Roxy's an important part of that
Dogs
space.
Yeah, she is.
True story.
Going.
Yeah, mine are locked out, but I can see them laying outside the door. So
dogs are important.
I can see the dogs right there. So this is certainly a big deal that we are able to do a lot of this over Zoom. Every now and then we're even able to do one over phone. It's not all that common, and it's usually a divergence from what we have in our content. But when it's somebody that's in a very similar place where we are or have been, then there are going to be things that come up. One particular active coaching client that I'm thinking of is making a change, new company. So a lot of different things are coming into light with that. And how do I manage this? How do I handle this? So on and so forth. So we have spent entire coaching sessions on that particular content. And again, this is why we delay out 52 weeks worth of content into 16 months. That kind of thing. But yeah. Okay, so add the third. Oh, I'm going to make him think.
No, calendaring. It's actually very easy. If it's not on your calendar, it's not going to happen. So I noticed that I'm a creature of habits. I don't know about everybody else, but I try to be a creature of habits. I like to do the same thing. It's at the same time over and over again. It just makes life a little bit easier. And so I found that not only I personally had to put into my calendar things to make sure that consistency would show up. Like, for instance, I put out a thought of the day. Well, at first I was trying to do a thought of the day on the day, let me think of what I'm going to think of today. And that just doesn't work.
That's hard.
So yeah, it just doesn't. So I have all my thought of the days. In fact, I finished this Sunday. I put all the thoughts of my days for the rest of the month of August and halfway through September, which is how I normally do it. I go from the 15th to the 15th. They're all done. And then by the time they come up and I post them, I forget what I had put down as the thought of the day, and I can give you some fresh writing. But putting it on the calendar, getting your calendar to work for you, as opposed to waking up and saying, what am I going to do every day? Oh, huge. When you showed me your Outlook calendar, I mean, a happy calendar, happy life. And, and the surprising thing is the more disciplined you are with the calendar, the more freedom you have in the rest of your life, because it's in your calendar. You don't have to worry about it. So those were the habits I think made a big, one other. And it's probably the thing that most people hate to do the most. Call your dang clients, call your customers. There is nothing, I tell you, once you start calling your customers, when you find out they went with somebody else, it just hurts your heart.
Ooh.
It just hurts your heart, because if you now know that the only reason why they did that is because I wasn't talking to them. Assuming they had a pleasant experience, here's a funny thing, even if they didn't have a great experience, over time, it tends to get better.
Sure.
And they want to hear from you.
Yes.
But when you don't call them, they think that you don't care. One of my CRM tells me when people's houses, or when they list their house and stuff. Let me tell you, having that come up and not being aware that they were going to list their house means I'm not doing my job. Just pure and simple. A good CRM, keeping track of everybody, keeping track of their goals, all the things that we talk about that we should do only happen if you put it in a calendar. And then you have an assistant. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about my Corral Queen. Then you understand to do what you do well and not do what you don't do well. So Mary, my Corral Queen, I call her that because my thought is, once I gather a client, a horse, and bring them into the corral, it's her job to keep them fed and watered and happy and all that. And so she supplements. I do my annual calls and stuff, but she's on the phone with them all the time. And what I found is 9 times out of 10, they're happy that she calls, not me. But to have someone, and so when I was looking for my assistant, one of the things I did a DISC test and a couple of other profile analysis that we talk about in coaching. And one of the things I saw is she's just a great connector. She loves to be inclusive with people. And so when we put her into that role, all of a sudden, I didn't have nearly as many people saying, oh, I didn't hear from you. I went and bought from somebody else. So just do what you do well and recognize what you don't do well and get it covered one way or the other.
That's really well said. And I think it was actually one of our previous mastermind speakers who coined happiness is a well-oiled calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certainly no denying that. And yeah, it is the backbone. I don't want to get up in the morning and figure out what I'm going to do that day. Right. I get up in the morning and I open my calendar and it tells me what I'm going to do that day. Mm-hmm. I absolutely love it. And right now, it tells me what I'm going to do that day all the way through the end of January.
Oh, let's put this in perspective. So I was out last September for Mile High Mastermind. And I was at the office and I was looking at the job board and everything else. And Jen came up and said, hey, would you like to be on our show? And I'm like, sure.
A year ago.
Freaking year.
Yeah, we're a popular bunch. People want to hang out with Jen, even if it's virtual. That's all I can say.
We are now booked until October of 2022.
Wow. Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay. So the podcast is popular. I would like to say that Adam is popular, but no, the podcast is popular, which is really, really cool. And I think another big piece of this, and I don't know exactly where it came from, and it's something that's been, modified a little, but the message is still the same. And obviously, David's trying to drive it home in another manner as well. If you're not in touch with your past clients, they are now someone else's prospects. Yes. That's it. That is all there is to that. So obviously in my line of work and for the originators that are picking up our broadcast here, either live or in syndication, the video or the actual audio podcast, there's been a lot of hubbub in the last year. There's been a lot of hubbub forever about wholesale versus retail and wholesale lenders, and am I writing a loan through one of my wholesale lenders who's then going to go and solicit my customers? And that's been a big deal, and I do not care.
No.
I get a solicitation about a mortgage at least once a day, every damn day, right? Mm-hmm. However, I don't get upset about it. I'm not concerned that somebody has my information and knows I have a loan, or comb the public records for deed filings, or is buying trigger leads from the credit bureaus. Because if one of my past clients is going to go do a loan with somebody else, that's on me. That's my fault.
Right. That's not my client.
That is absolutely my fault. And obviously a lot of what we talk about in the coaching program when it comes to contact database, contact management, different campaigns, on, ways to stay in front of people. Jen, our contact database for the mortgage company is like 13,000 people.
Oh, yeah.
And we touch them each 40 times a year. We are staying top of mind. We're staying in front of these people. And yeah, still, every now and then I'm going to see somebody go and take a loan with somebody else. The Quicken. They don't want to be called that anymore, so I'm going to keep calling them Quicken. Or a number of other companies. And you know what? Yeah, you get knocked down a peg there, but only because you should come to the realization that it's your fault.
Right.
It's your fault.
Right.
Yep.
And you can put in systems to make, when I think people get confused, when you say you touch them 40 times a year,
No. People think I'm doing it inappropriately.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we know how you...
Yeah, no, they think I mean groping when I say touching. That's not the case, no. And David, you're absolutely right. It's not even live touches. Correct.
No, but it's planned. It's consistent. They know it's going to happen.
Wait, there's that word again. Consistent.
Consistent and know it's going to happen. So one of my consistent things is I send out birthday deals. I'm a big birthday guy. Again, if you're in my list, I'm a big birthday. There's a video, there's a text message, there's a handwritten card. To the point that my customers now I've had a couple of them, if I miss, hey, are you okay?
Yeah.
Is everything okay? Because they expect that. And what the hidden lesson with consistency is if you're consistent with your contacts, you'll be consistent with getting their loan done. It's just that simple. Consistency builds trust.
Yeah, that's true. And that translates to hundreds or thousands of things in business and in your personal life and so on and so forth. Yep. You want to be a good parent? Be consistent.
Yeah. Consistently mean like Adam, or consistently nice, or whatever it takes. But be consistent so people know what to expect out of you. I thought I'd throw that in.
That got sideways fast. I'm not going to wander out on that pier any further now. All right, we're done with that particular subject. So, David, as I expected, we blew through a half an hour pretty quickly. Why don't you and Jen give us a few highlights about this year's event and how our audience can participate? I assume we still have tickets left.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, we still some tickets.
Not very many from the last count I saw.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you guys hit them with the highlights? What are we going to cover, and how can they attend, participate, get involved?
Go, Jim.
Yeah. So ticket-wise, you can text TIPS to 63566, and you can find tickets there, along with a whole bunch of other stuff, like a copy of Adam's book, our recent videos, all that cool stuff. But as far as Mile High Mastermind, it is 2 days at the University of Denver. We're really excited. We moved it this year to DU. And it's all workshop-style content for the most part, things you can actually implement in your business. So you're not taking a notebook worth of notes and throwing it in a drawer to never be seen again. Like, these are things that you're actually going to be hands-on that you can immediately do for your business.
Bring your laptop.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And for the first time ever, we're doing breakout sessions. We're doing social media breakout sessions. I will be running one on Clubhouse. Alyssa, who I talked about earlier, is doing TikTok. We have podcasting with Marissa, and we have LinkedIn with Mr. David Ryder. David, do you want to give him a taste of what you're going to talk about?
No, because that would just give it away. No, LinkedIn. So here's the funny thing. And again, looking at 2020 COVID, Facebook and all that, it is such a joy to go to LinkedIn. You don't have the politics. You don't have the, mass, not mass. The people that are there want to do business. They understand the value of business. Building the relationship is huge. It's a much easier way to stay into contact with them. Don't get me wrong. Facebook, I think, is great for a consumer focused, but I've always tried to build my business off. Let me find referral sources as opposed to a consumer source. And LinkedIn's just great for that. So we're going to go how to set up your page, how to prospect out of LinkedIn, how to use some of the tools that LinkedIn has so you can, and how to use some outside sources so you can purposely, this is what I'm doing right now, purposely build your audience on LinkedIn, and they're, great thing about LinkedIn is I'm not worried about any of my private stuff or anything like that. I can let an assistant get into LinkedIn. It's just not a problem. It's just business. I love LinkedIn. So we'll be talking a lot about that.
I'm sorry, I'm going to miss that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Record it. We'll record it.
So, along with that, we'll have a website workshop. We're actually going to crown the worst website of the group, but don't worry, that person's going to get a free hour of website coaching with me so we can make it better. Adam and Rob are going to talk about hiring that first assistant. They've got kind of different models, the sales side versus the ops side, and how that looks. It's the same, but different. Along with, I'll teach a workshop on Canva, which Canva, if you're not on Canva you
rocks.
gotta be using Canva.
Yep.
Michelle's coming in to talk about long range content. Instead of putting all this effort into content for tomorrow, let's talk about 6 months. Let's create things that can be reused and that you get some longevity out of. So
yeah, long tailors.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can text TIPS to 63566. I think we are 6 weeks away from the Mile High Mastermind, just over that.
Wow.
So
and not that you would come for this reason, but I understand that somebody's going to turn 60 right before Mile High Mastermind. So maybe if you stay through Saturday night, there may be a party or something like that. You just never know.
We're both confused.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, not.
When is your birthday?
Yeah, what are we talking about?
September 15th, I turned 60.
Oh.
7 days before we show up.
Hey, Mindy, just there's a hint there if you're watching.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Perfect.
But that wouldn't be the reason why you'd come. You'd come because the content that Adam provides, the content that Rob Tate provides, one of the top team leaders of Keller Williams System, the content, the unspoken hero of Jen Waybor. I mean, I really didn't know how much she knew. The truth of the matter is Adam comes up with the ideas, but Jen makes it happen. She keeps everything on track. She keeps, the number of times, what are we supposed to be talking about today, Jen? Here's what we're talking about. And she keeps us on track. That alone is worth it, just to make the relationships with the people that you're going to meet. I'm looking forward. I'm going to meet some of my friends. And one of the areas I want to learn a little bit more about is construction financing. And so I'm rooming up with a guy that does construction financing. I'm going to pick his brain.
That's
so
very
the
cool.
Opportunities is just boundless.
Oh, we do talk about the two important pieces of any conference being content and audience. So,
yep.
Look at you exercising the audience portion. You're going to have productive time even when you're not learning from the rest of us. That is awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, no, and thank you. I'm glad we finally got this episode done. And boy, the timing is fortuitous, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Worked out well.
We had no idea a year ago when we booked it that was going to be the case, but here we are.
That's it.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. David, thank you for your time.
My
We
pleasure.
know how valuable it is. I'll apologize now. Yes, this episode has been relatively self-serving for both Just the Tips Coaching and our annual Mile High Mastermind event, but it is a unique opportunity for us to get a multi-mastermind event attendee and a just near the tail end of his program coaching client on the podcast to share with you firsthand what kinds of things we're putting out there to our clients. So again, apologies to all of you. David, thank you.
My pleasure.
We will see you all next week, Mondays at 10:30 Mountain Time. We do episodes of How I Met Your Mortgage. You guys have a good one.
Take care.